Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's NASC Preferred Supplier webinar, using the customer experience to your advantage. I'm Bill Parker with NASC, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. It's now my pleasure to introduce first Tyler Craig. Tyler is Blustream's Senior Vice President of Sales and a software as a service sales leader with deep product experience. Tyler has a passion for dogs, baseball, family, and cool software. Emily Lagasse is Blustream's Vice President of Marketing and has 9 years of experience in the pet industry. Emily is a marketing expert with intense commitment to building businesses. She's also an entrepreneur and business leader and former founder of several companies. And with that, I will turn this over to Tyler and Emily. Emily, thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you to everyone on the line for taking the time to join us today. And Bill and Ginny and the entire team at NASC, thank you for having us on. Today, we're really excited to talk to you about customer experience, how to enhance it, how to best use it to your advantage. With the power of your brand expertise, plus a personalized after-sale communication strategy, you'll be able to really create an unprecedented customer experience. So our plan is to go over a few slides to give some visual context around best practices and what exists in the world today from a customer experience perspective, and then answer any questions, as Bill mentioned, that you have towards the end. And when we're done, hopefully we've shed some light on a few areas that have been troubling or hindering your ability to better connect with your customers. And if you see value in what Blustream is doing and how it can help you, we'd love to chat further. So for today's specific agenda, let's dive in. We're going to go through a few key areas. We're going to give a little bit more of an introduction for both Emily and myself here in a minute. We're going to delve into the problem at hand and that it's nearly impossible to create an incredible personalized experience for your customer. We're going to cover best practices for the post-sale customer experience. We're going to talk about some best practices with SMS marketing. We're going to give a quick glimpse into how Blustream provides a solution to the problem that results in increased customer retention, loyalty, and revenue. And then we'll cover any questions and closing thoughts. So if that sounds good to everyone, let's dig in. So 30 more seconds on me. My name is Tyler Craig. I've been with Blustream for about 1.5 years at this point. My background is a bit varied. I've spent the last 12+ years in software, specifically around technologies that make businesses' lives easier. Prior to that, I've been in the restaurant industry. I've been in the wine and spirit business. So I love hospitality. I love making connections with people and companies. And these days I get to apply technology largely in the pet industry for companies in a way that's really fun and mutually beneficial. So hopefully I get to meet some of you in subsequent meetings or at events, maybe in May in Scottsdale. And as for the pictures, I got to call those out. You get to see my 2 lovely daughters down there and the pets that run our life. So from he's much bigger now. That Lab Husky mix you see on the far left, that's an 8-month-old Lab Husky mix. And then we have a 17-year-old Rat Terrier. So our hands are full, pets, technology, as Bill mentioned, wine and baseball too. Happy to talk about any of those topics, but that's enough about me. What's up with you, Emily?
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited to be here and meet some of you hopefully soon. So I joined the team about 1 year ago. Prior to that, I was in the pet industry, as Bill mentioned, for about 9 years with my own businesses. So in 2013, 2012, I launched my own pet food company called Fedwell. It was one of the first baked pet foods on the market that didn't have any synthetic vitamins. The inspiration for that product was my own dog, Fenway, who you can see pictured there. He is still alive and well. He's a 14-year-old African village dog who I got while I was in the Peace Corps in West Africa. So I ran that business for about 4 years. I did about 80% of my sales online. So I got a lot of experience with e-commerce and learned a lot about digital marketing, which was really great. After I closed that business, I pivoted to a retail store. I became really passionate about helping pet owners identify alternative remedies and supplements to help their pets heal from various ailments, as I had experienced with my own dog. So I ran a pet supply store called Petwell Supply in Somerville, Massachusetts for another few years, and closed that actually just about the time that I started at Blustream, and I'm working on re-emerging with my online store, which is not quite ready yet. But love working in the pet industry, love meeting people in the pet industry. So very excited to be here with you all today.
Great. So pressing on, let's dive into the problem. So what we're finding at Blustream is that there are really a handful of trouble areas that are keeping companies up at night. So firstly, improving customer retention. Everyone wants to increase retention. Not only is it up to 25 times less expensive to keep a customer than it is to obtain a new one, but they also become much more valuable over time. Marketing dollars. You spend a ton of money to drive demand, to drive purchases, making sure that those dollars weren't spent in vain. Customer engagement. You care what your customers have to say. You want to know, good or bad. You want to help. You don't want to leave them hanging, returning products, moving to a competitor. Revenue growth. Every business's objective is to get and to keep a customer. Can't keep a customer and sell more things if they don't have a successful first experience. Reviews. Nearly all of us look to reviews before making a purchase, especially in this commoditized e-commerce environment. So ensuring that a high quantity of good reviews is paramount for business. And even if you are asking, most asks are ending up in personal inboxes or spam folders, which is why consumers are 4.5 times more likely to reply to an SMS message than an email, for example, which we'll get into. But what do all of these have in common? An incredible personalized post-sale experience solves each one of these trouble areas, but it's really hard to do. So let's look at some ways in which companies are trying to solve for that today. Because 80% of customers are more likely to do business with a company who offers personalized experiences, that has to be attempted. So to date, there are really 4 primary areas in which companies look, each with its own pros and cons. First, review platforms. Companies like Trustpilot, Yotpo, they exist to gather, aggregate, and promote your product's reviews. It's a good point solution to have in place. Reviews are critically important, as we'll dig into in a few moments. But not just good reviews, but a high volume of reviews. But these platforms, through which reviews are gathered are limited, and they're single purchase by design. Nothing wrong with that. They just don't go far enough in and of themselves. Email marketing platforms, companies like Klaviyo or Constant Contact, or MailChimp, HubSpot, tons of others exist to gather your customers' email addresses for marketing communications. However, these messages tend to aim at things like promotions or new store openings or new product offerings, discounts. So worthwhile to have in place, but it takes time to implement and to manage. And additionally, and I think probably most importantly, they're not interactive. It's more like, hey, look at us and what we're doing. That's not personalization, it's mass marketing. And we find too that people don't really want that coupon or the promotion, or that it'll be used for something that they're likely to purchase anyway. So it just unnecessarily hits a company's margin. But lastly, people don't read them either. The emails, they don't, people don't read them either. So slightly exaggerated, of course, people do read them, but very low open rates, very low engagement rates. And for most companies, email marketing is kind of like a checkbox to have to say that they have it in place. Support platforms. Companies like Gorgeous, Zendesk, they exist to provide a direct but reactionary channel to the customer. While, again, a necessary point solution, they're time-consuming and expensive to staff for, and again, reactionary. And something has likely already gone wrong for the customer before an interaction like that takes place. And fourth here, SMS marketing tools. So these are become very popular in the last 5 to 6 years or so, because they do offer a level of ease and a level of personalization at a relatively low cost for promotional activities. Personalization like, what has my customer purchased? When did they purchase it? How many did they purchase? What's that customer's name? How many do they buy? Useful information, but it kind of stops right there. It allows you to say, hey, because you bought this last month, you might like to try this month, or we think you might be running low, click here to order more. No personalization around the experience with the product itself. No insight into how many dogs do you have in the house? What breeds are they? What ailments might they suffer from? So a good entry point into semi-personalized promotional mass marketing to aid in driving the next sale. But back to the lead, consumers want your company to know them. You won't know them by simply knowing their name, what they purchased, and when they purchased it. It's this proactive, automated, personalized experience that's desired. And each of these solutions takes a relative step in that direction, but you don't get to the finish line with that. And I think often to an example that Emily's probably tired of me utilizing from Dick's Sporting Goods. I bought some golf equipment there a couple of years ago. every week without fail since then, I get a text from them. It never once has it been about golf equipment. It's for fishing gear or hunting gear or whatever their flash sale is of the week. So personalized because they use my name every time, but not personalized because never once has it been relevant to what my actual experience was with the brand before that. So that's a lead into you, Emily. Let's talk about some of the best practices with these.
Absolutely.
Moving forward, there we go.
Yeah, so, it's been great at Blustream to begin to understand how we can expand upon the existing customer experiences and technologies that are out there to do that. And the first way that we really look to create a great customer experience that can lead to a 5-star review is by anticipating our customer needs. So I'm sure all of you know with your products where customers go wrong or fail or potentially initiate a return because their dog doesn't like it or they didn't know how to use it properly, or maybe there was an unintended result, but actually was how your product is supposed to perform. So the more you can be with your customers in that first moment that they're using your product to help them think through, what they might expect, how to use it, how to get their dog to take it. Perhaps their dog is not used to ingesting a powder supplement or not familiar with the taste of the product that they're enjoying. The more you can anticipate what needs they have and what issues might arise and proactively help communicate with them about that, the more successful your customers will be and the more 5-star reviews you'll receive. This is especially important if your product is distributed through retail. So making sure that you can communicate with all of your channel partners and anticipating those needs and making sure everyone's on the same page to help your customers be successful. The second point would be collecting information. So any attributes that you can collect about your customers, their dogs, their cats, their horses, to help them be more successful is going to help build that rapport and that relationship to help them help create that experience that makes them successful and loyal to your brand. So an example for this would be, we have a customer in the dental supplement space, and their product has to be added to 8 ounces of water. And obviously different size dogs have different water intake needs, need a different amount of the product. So just being able to ask the question of how much does your dog weigh, talking your customer through, different ways they might want to manage their dog's water intake or intake of that supplement throughout the day is really important. Just that small bit of information that really helps them succeed with your product. Because you're collecting this information, you can also help provide the right replenishment recommendations as well as tips and tricks specific for that size dog. If you're able to collect additional information like breed, or maybe this customer has multiple animals in their household who could benefit from your product, that's also great information to have because you can help them serve all the pets and companion animals in their home and potentially sell them more, have better experiences with your product. The third point would be to personalize. As Tyler mentioned, the way that has been promoted in the past with marketing tools is that you include somebody's first name, potentially even a pet's name. If you're able to collect that information, you're able to personalize based on what they've purchased before, how often they've purchased it. But the more information you can collect from your customers, the better you can tailor their experiences. It helps you think about segmenting your audience differently to provide these superior interactions, education, information. So for example, if you're collecting information, let's say with a dental supplement example again. So you sell dental supplements, but you're collecting information from your customers, you're engaging in conversations with them, and you understand that maybe 25% of your existing customer base also have dogs that have anxiety. And you may not have an anxiety product, but that's information that you have that later on can help you personalize messages, perhaps help you develop additional products that could be beneficial for that same customer segment. So this collection of information and personalization really work well together to create that customer experience that everybody's craving. They want that, they want that feeling that you really understand them and they are there to help them. Next, be proactive. Don't wait for customers to call and complain. Don't wait for them to return your products. Provide tips and assistance throughout their journey from the moment they get their product and onward to help make sure that they're really having the best experience possible. We know that there's limited printable space on packaging to kind of help give everybody the information that they need to be successful. You can't always rely on customers to do the research to fully understand how to use your product, or even retailers, everybody in the retail store to really understand the best practices to use your product. So be as proactive as possible. Let customers know that you're there for them, be approachable, have multiple ways for them to reach out to you. And when possible, if you have your customers' information, reach out ahead of time, let them know what they might expect, be really proactive with as much information as possible. And lastly, you want to measure your success and adapt. So most customers that we see are measuring their customer experience with reviews. And if you are measuring your customer success with reviews, it's critical to interact with customers right after the sale. And, we see this often. I'm sure this has happened to many of you here. You buy a product, and then a few weeks later, a brand will send you an email requesting a review, but they have no idea how you're enjoying the product. They don't know if you've taken it out of the box. They don't know if you've maybe already returned it or had a bad experience. And we call this kind of like the black hole that a brand has with a customer, where you're just blindly sending out requests for reviews, but you have no idea how your customer is succeeding or not succeeding. So, it's really important to continue this conversation with them prior to asking for a review. So if you understand a customer is having challenges, you can triage them to support, help solve their issue, turn that bad experience into a positive one. And if somebody is having a great experience, that's a perfect time to send them to a review platform for your product.
Great. And as Emily mentioned, one of the best practices is to begin immediately communing with the customer after a purchase. So a couple of slides ago, we spent time talking about a few solutions to solve for the customer experience. Here, we're going to dig a bit deeper on why we and many others feel so strongly about SMS being incorporated into your strategy if it isn't already. And for those that have incorporated it or have stepped in that direction, are likely familiar with those promotional based solutions that we talked about, like a Postscript or an Attentive or an Emotive or Klaviyo. There are a good amount of them, and they're great solutions for what they're designed to do, which is driving consumers to the next sale of something. In a bit, we'll talk further about this notion of the promotional centric approach versus a product centric approach. But for now, let's look at why you need to look at SMS as a strategy if you haven't already. So many of our customers ask, do consumers even want this? Well, they absolutely do. Nearly 2 in 3 US consumers prefer SMS over email as of 2021. Further, what struck me during a bit of research last week is that not only is the top industry for consumers to opt in the world of e-com and retail, that's not the surprising part. The surprising part is that number 2 is healthcare. And I think that just about everyone on this call has a product sold in retail or e-com that is related to the health of pets and companion animals. And those are the top 2 areas where consumers are most likely to opt into an SMS from a company. Do your consumers read them? Yep, 70% within the first 60 seconds and an overall open rate of 98%. 98%. Compare that with open rates for email that are hovering around 18%, which I think is even a little bit generous. So what is a 5 times higher open rate with SMS versus email? They get read. But do they engage? Again, yes, 86% of US businesses report higher engagement with SMS versus email. So wanting it is great, having them read is great, engagement's great, but do consumers purchase because of SMS? Yes, they do. Nearly half of recipients of SMS messages from business have made a purchase from a text message. So this to me leads to the question, of course, should you all on the line buy this or further explore this? I think that at Blustream, our stance is clear, and it seems to be pretty widespread at this point. And as of 2020, 61% of marketing organizations in the US were increasing their text marketing budgets because of the simple truth that it drives engagement, it drives reviews, and it drives revenue. So Emily, back over to you for a few minutes to talk about some of the best practices in SMS marketing.
Yeah. So Tyler already covered SMS is certainly the way to be communicating with your customers these days, much better engagement, but there are also certain best practices that you should follow to keep those engagement rates high, to keep those purchases rolling in. So the way that we have found our customers to be most successful with their SMS initiatives is to really focus on building a relationship. And companies do this by asking thoughtful questions, providing contextual education, and making product recommendations that are really tailored to the unique individual. You've heard us talk about how a lot of these tools out there are really promotional based, and people are getting sick of those messages. Just because you bought this product this month, you get a recommendation to buy the same product or maybe a similar product in the following month. You get a sale coupon. But that's not what customers want anymore. Those are the messages that eventually are going to be opted out of. So by focusing on building that relationship, keeping those questions coming, that education and those tips flowing, that's what's going to really keep your customers engaged with your brand. So first and foremost, when you start communicating with customers over SMS, set those expectations. Let them know how often you'll be communicating, what benefits they'll get by subscribing into your text messaging initiative. Just really set the stage for why they're there and what they should be excited for and what they should be looking for. In terms of timing, obviously we recommend focusing your communication right after the sale for all of the reasons that we've mentioned. It's the most critical point in time to help your customers succeed with your product and the best opportunity to solicit a 5-star review. But really make sure that you're, holding the hands of your customers throughout this period of time where they may have buyer's remorse or be struggling with your product. Think about the cadence. We recommend, not texting customers more than once or twice a week. Sometimes this does vary. We have some customers, for example, where their product may require a lot of help initially, whether it's setup instructions or dosage instructions. So there may be periods of time where you're communicating more rapidly with your customers as they're actually engaging and asking for additional help. And that would be a time where we would say, that's not really the 1 week, once a week rule, because that customer is saying that they need help with your product. But otherwise, for other additional tips and recommendations, we recommend keeping those messages spaced to about once a week. On our platform, we've seen that yes, no, and multiple choice questions get much higher engagement. So that's just something to keep in mind if you already are using SMS communication as part of your marketing. For content, as we mentioned, it's really important to proactively share information that your customers are searching for, provide education, build that relationship. They don't just want the promotional messages. It is obviously important to strike a balance. So you do want to provide purchase recommendations, but do so in a thoughtful way. And then, of course, reviews. It's a great place to ask for reviews. So proactively asking customers how they're enjoying your product and see how they are. If they need help, if they're having a poor experience, definitely triage them to someone who can help them and turn their situation around. If they're having a positive experience, go ahead and send them to your review page and get that easy review right there.
Great, thank you, Emily. So enter Blustream. So we are a product experience platform that's designed to drive loyalty and retention from your customer's first experience, which we've talked about a lot already. So our mission is post-sale product-based engagement. That's where we live. So taking, again, your brand expertise, adding personalized product communication and content at scale, that's what equals that unprecedented customer experience. So your customers love the support, the help getting started or using a product for the first time, the education, the tips, based on exactly how they're using or reacting to your product. They'll love the proactive nature of it. You're telling them what to expect on day 7 of using a product, or what they should be doing or expecting on day 15 of using a product for their pet. They'll love that it's contextualized in that manner, that it's tailored for them. They'll love how easy it is to have this personalized level of engagement, this engagement expert, so to speak, this product concierge that we have people refer to it as. So customers keep the product, they enjoy the product, they're successful with the product, they're happy. They're happy because you care, because you've helped them, but also because of how you've communicated with them. So with Blustream in place as a product concierge of sorts, you can really crush that first experience and change the way that you connect with your customers who are now happy, lifelong brand champions. And because of that, great reviews are skyrocketing, poor reviews are reduced, or even eliminated, and revenue is climbing. And going one step further, we believe that producing a great product just in and of itself isn't good enough anymore. You have to own the experience. But as we've discussed, it's really hard to do. So it's that massive problem that we're solving for. The customers feel pain after a purchase, and because of that, brands are losing customers because they're not helping them sufficiently or at all after the sale. In those very first few moments of a product's usage, as Emily mentioned earlier, that those moments that are really rich with potential interaction points that can make or break that customer's experience. And you add into that the massive shift to e-com that we've all seen. Purchasing has really been commoditized, and we're finding that businesses really don't have a strong way to undo this. COVID kind of put the nail in this coffin. And while some of the companies that we work with had basic or maybe even intermediate strategies in place to communicate with their consumer post-sale, they're again not addressing what the consumer needs. They're not looking for that, hey, come back, we're having a sale, or you bought this twice last month, would you like to buy it 3 times this month? They're asking, how do I use this? How do I fix this? What effects should I be seeing? When should I be seeing them? When am I supposed to give this to my dog again? How do I get more of this? So we as consumers, our logical step is to go to Google or to YouTube or to a company's overworked and understaffed customer support team, hoping for an answer that kind of just seems right. So Emily mentioned before this black hole of communication. That's what we're solving for. The doorstep to delight is another analogy that I like to use for it. From the moment a product gets to a doorstep to the moment that your customer is delighted. That's where we sit at, and our customers are seeing it as a massive differentiator for all the reasons that we've outlined, from positive reviews, net promoter scores, fewer returns, a really authentic connection to the customer. And one final thing that I'd like to touch on is data. So what we've seen crop up a lot lately is that there's really strong interest from the folks that run product and R&D within companies, which I imagine holds especially true with this group. The data gleaned from the automated conversations is true, real-time voice of the customer, which allows iterations of products to move more quickly, to be more efficient, to be immediately injected into broader strategy conversations a company is likely always having. So not only are you taking better care of your customer and generating more revenue, but you're also using their feedback to make your next product even better. One quick look at how it works, and we'll be wrapped up for some Q&A. So Blustream gets started as soon as the sale is complete to your customer, a welcome message, ensuing proactive engagement that's based on your customer's responses, their usage, their environment. So over the course of a few weeks, they're engaged. You've learned exactly how delighted they are, and it ends with asking for a review during that first month. From there, we stick with them for any ongoing care needs, follow-up tips, additional checks, appropriate cross-sell recommendations based on what we've learned. So we're using that data obtained through the two-way communication to trigger the personalized product messages. And another nice outcome of the data gathered is that it allows for, and Emily touched on this, but really powerful customer segmentation that can be used in your Blustream efforts or in broader marketing strategies. So think of, what percent of my customers have a large breed dog that eats this food, that suffers from ailments A and B, that has read my blog on X and purchased product Z. All of that data is curated and visible to you in our portal. And for a company to get started with us, we work with you to insert a few pieces of information into what we call a blueprint. This is our proven template. So no heavy lifting on our customer's part. It's a few clicks and we're underway. We work to understand what that interaction strategy will be. Is it brick and mortar? Is it e-com, for example? We'll think through whether we'll get the contact data through a POS system or QR codes that might already exist on packaging. So a number of ways that we can easily work with companies to get their consumers engaged. And the good news is that we work with all sizes of companies, including a ton of the pet industry. So we've got really strong pet industry knowledge by the nature of people we've worked with, plus having Emily on board certainly helps with that and her background. So size of company doesn't matter either. We have customers that I think have 14 customers as our smallest customer, and we have brands that are in 10,000 retailers. So the full spectrum there, and it just takes, again, a couple of clicks and a couple of calls with our onboarding team to get going, and a couple hours, couple of clicks, and we're underway. We make it really easy to work with us. Not frozen anymore. So here, just a quick obligatory glimpse into some of our customers and what they're saying about us, so you don't have to take our word for it any longer. So some names you might recognize, like Holistic Pet or Mutt Gut or DOG. I call out to a specific recent customer who we were able to increase revenue for in a nice way. And just a few more customer testimonials there from a number of different industries, from pet to other industries that we're working in, which has the added benefit of data and aggregation on our platform from everybody we work with stands to benefit everybody that comes onto the platform. So when I mention our blueprint, those proven templates that we have, we are constantly learning, when it makes sense to send the welcome message, when it makes sense to send a question, when it makes sense to send educational content. So that data is anonymized and aggregated on our platform, so that every subsequent customer that comes on our platform is gaining intelligence by the minute. And right before I turn it back over to Bill, just want to point out that as a member of NASC, not only do we make it really easy for any of you to get started working with us, or even just to schedule a conversation to talk about what you're doing right now in some of these areas, even if we're not going to end up working together. We love learning what other people are doing as well. In the event that any of you would like to work with us, you also don't have to invest any money to begin with. We have a starter package that is exclusive to members of NASC to get started in very little time and no money. And you have our information here, so you choose to want to reach out and have a further conversation, we'd love to do that. So Bill, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Tyler. I'll start off with some of the questions that we have. First of all, how does Blustream fit in with other marketing technologies? In other words, if they already use HubSpot or Klaviyo or other tools like that, how does this fit in?
Yeah, really good question. So flexibility is the first word that comes to mind. And I know that the MarTech stack, marketing technology, can get really confusing. And we think back to the slide where we talked about some of the review platforms and some of the email marketing strategies. So the simple answer to that question is very easily. Blustream's not looking to replace any of those. We're looking to augment those. So with our integrations that we have with platforms like Shopify or Zapier, we're able to easily integrate with just about anything, so that the transfer of data between the platforms is seamless. So when you think about using Klaviyo or HubSpot, for example, where the consumer's data is already known, that can simply act as a trigger for us that jets out to our platform, and we start the journey for the consumer at that moment. So we fit into those nicely. There's CRMs, there's POS systems, there's email marketing. This is a logical step to do product-centric SMS communications, even for folks that are already doing the more promotional-based SMS. So integrations make that really easy.
Another question is, a customer, or a lot of our members do pet as well as human applications with some of their supplements. Do you see, say, a split in tactics when you're applying your service to their pet side as opposed to their human side?
I wouldn't say that there's a split in tactics, but that also doesn't surprise me. We've had a lot of conversations where it's not just the pet supplements, but human as well. The same principles apply. There's attributes that we're able to learn from the consumer around ailments they have, or age, or weight, or things like that, really directly applicable to humans as it is for pets, because of again, all the rich attribute data we're able to gather and apply. So no really different tactics needed. It's an awesome use case.
Excellent. And how easy is it to get started and what's involved?
Good question. I feel like that's 3 in a row for me, Emily. How about you? I'll do this one. You get the next one. Really easy to get started. So we typically, there's a couple of clicks and a click-through agreement. We schedule a 45-minute call where we come and have that blueprint largely filled out. There's, our customer is the product expert. We are the product experience expert. So there are naturally a couple of areas where we're going to need some input. If this is the right URL for the FAQs, or what is the review platform that you're using so that we can plug that into the right spot? Is this the tone of the message that you want? A lot of our customers want it very friendly. Hey, it's Barbara here from company X. I love seeing you last week. Here's what I want to talk to you about this week. Some want to take a more professional tone. So we want to make sure the tone is right. So in that onboarding call where I and a couple members of our team get started, we go through that messaging. We have a version of it for review, and then once approved, we're off and running. So a couple hours tops and a couple clicks.
Great. And then what does the pricing and terms look like?
I lied, Emily. I feel like that's another one for me.
I was just about to say, that's a Tyler question.
Yeah. So again, for NASC, it's easy to get started and it's complimentary, first of all, but we are standard software as a service platform, and our, one consumable is messages. So we charge based on messages, and that depends, of course, on how many customers our customers have. So most of our customers come on board for $199 a month, which gets them their first 1,000 messages, and then scale up from there for a few months. And then naturally, once the ROI has been seen, want to migrate to more of an annual subscription, we're able to do some, better unit economics and things like that. So for a couple $100, our customer can take care of, customers with thousands of messages per month.
A lot of our membership are producing finished products, but do you guys work with potential customers that are in other points along the supply chain, like say material suppliers or contract manufacturers, that type of thing?
Emily, you want that one?
I think Tyler's more familiar with our existing customer base, but I will say, I think there are lots of ways to use our technology and for those type of businesses, Bill. Any business that interacts with anyone, whether it's an end customer or someone else along your supply chain who would benefit from education, information, and more tailored information, especially on demand through text messaging. Our platform isn't just like we schedule the messages and that's just when they go out because it's this holiday, you get this message. Our messages can really be used to help someone with any sort of information that they may need, whether it's for selling to an end consumer, whether it's someone in a retail setting who needs extra help understanding how the product works, and they're texting your number to understand additional information to provide a customer, or someone else along your supply chain who just needs some extra education. It's an excellent application for that.
Yeah, I would add too that, while our average customer is a B2C customer, we have seen a lot of applications and requests pop up lately in an industrial setting. So we didn't get too deep into the consumer acquisition mechanism in this, but we did touch on QR codes. So think of a company that sells really expensive manufacturing equipment to another business, a B2B company, but having a QR code on that tool that can easily be scanned and teach somebody in an automated way how to use it. So while our average customer goes directly to consumer, as Emily pointed out, from one point to another, that another doesn't have to be a consumer, because of the automated and proactive nature of it. It can be really useful. So we're discovering new use cases every day. They usually come to us before we think of them. So we always love interesting ideas.
Excellent. And you mentioned you showed on your slide there, you did show some of the other industries that you work with besides pet. But are there other industries besides the ones that you showed that you work with other than pet?
Yeah, there are a few. We've stayed surgical with it by intent. The genesis of the company 7 or 8 years ago was in pets and music, so we stayed really true to those industries. Music is a big segment for us, but pets, Emily and I had a really successful year last year with Global Pet Expo and Super Zoo and the Pet Innovation Summit. So we invest a lot in the pet industry, and it's also a lot of fun. It's more fun than working with other industries. So I think we're naturally gravitating towards the pet industry, but by working in other industries, we're able again to make the platform smarter as a whole and bring more of the expertise to everyone. So human health, which was touched on, that is an area we're looking at. Health and beauty, apparel, manufacturing. So really, anybody that makes and sells a physical good that cares about their customer having a good experience, whether that customer is we the consumer or another business, it's a fit.
Tyler and Emily, I want to thank you very much for some really, really good content. And I'd also like to thank everyone else for joining us here today. And feel free to share this presentation with anyone inside or outside of NASC that you think will be able to benefit from the content. Again, thank you, Tyler and Emily, and thank everyone else for joining.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you having us.
Thank you
so much.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care.